All right, perfect. Happy Thursday. Welcome to this Purse Strings Facebook Live. Let me just make sure we're going live on this as well. Dun, 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 dun. Awesome. And so today we are going to be talking about money and emotions all around caregiving. We're very excited to get that started. For those of you new tuning in, this is Purse Strings. We come and go live every Thursday at noon Central. This month, we've all been talking about caregiving and caretakers and really that meat of the sandwich generation. But Purse Strings is bringing all this education for you. But when you need a professional to go to, we have top tier financial professionals who really understand the plight of women, want to work with the female market, and they're very awesome people. All of them are very impressive. And we call those our Purse Strings approved professionals. Noemi is one of them. And she is here with us today to really help us, understand some more things about this money and emotion and caretaking. So we're excited to have you here. I would love if you could just kind of introduce yourself and share a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Maggie, and for inviting me. I think it's great that the more information that people can have, the better they're more prepared to be able to address things that for some women, and I include myself there, we don't talk about just because we think, oh, it's just something that, somebody else is going through. They're not going to understand. And the reality is that a lot of us go through things like that. So as a business owner and being in the field, I have been doing investments for a little bit over 20 years plus. And it's a field that is dominated mostly. It's mostly men. And so it's one of those that you just don't talk about, So I realized that as we have progressed, there's going to be a lot of the women. In fact, the majority of the women are the ones that make the decisions, the ones that go into the workforce, the ones that end up putting in double duty at home, at work, and then some with family members. And so it was important. This topic was really important and dear to my heart just because of what I've seen through experience. And so I think that we bring not only other people's experiences of what they've gone through and what they walk through, and really how to prepare people that are walking into those seasons or prepare in case they walk into seasons later on in their phases of life.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to dig in because sometimes this is a season that you never know is going to start until, it's a snap of a finger and all of a sudden something happens.
Absolutely.
So that's one reason why we really want to be prepared. And so I'm excited to dive into this today with you. And so first, if somebody becomes a caretaker, either if it was planned, if they're leaving the workforce, or all of a sudden they have to leave the workforce, what are some ways, especially women, we need to protect ourselves financially? What are some ways that we could go about doing that, even though, we're no longer in the workforce?
Right. I think for one is preparation. It's best to be prepared, at least with the documents ahead of time. And one thing that I tell my clients as soon as they start venturing into already getting married, and usually it's one member out of the family that becomes a caregiver. It takes the most of the brunt. I've seen it through experience with clients, and I've seen it even through friendships that even though there might be 5 siblings, one of them takes the brunt of it. And so, I think the more prepared you are, the better you're able to execute that when it does happen, because it's not as if it happens, it's when it happens. And then you've got cultural things that also come up. For some cultures, you're the caregiver and they're going to come home with you. You're going to take care of them at home. For some of them, they planned enough where they got to go shopping and go looking at different facilities where they want to be taken care of professionally, because you've got other factors that would be diseases such as diabetes or high blood pressure, where they will be better cared in a facility that has the professionals to do so. But I think preparation is the key. For one, the basic stuff of having a power of attorney, a durable power of attorney. Make sure that you have, and I give them a checklist, have a durable power of attorney in case you need it or when you need it. Also, make sure you have the will set up. That is a basic will that would allow preparation, so you don't have to go through probate for items, things like that. So a lot of the paperwork goes in hand before that happens, and it's always good to have it. You can be the caregiver for a mother, a father, a sister. And how about our kids? The kids graduate, they turn 18 years old. Now they're considered adults.
Yep.
If they were to, for some reason, have a car accident or something comes up and you're rushing to go and see about helping out, you don't have access because they're 18 years old. So I also recommend, if you got kids that have already graduated high school and are going into college, have a power of attorney for them as well. In case you need it, you're able to come in, and there's also a medical power of attorney.
Yep.
You're able to come in. So I create a checklist of things that I give my clients, and I call them a life book. I don't just, that's it, life book. Do you have your dual power of attorney? Do you have your will? Do you have a medical power of attorney for you? Who's going to take care of you? Something happens to you, because we take care of everyone else.
Yep.
And then we forget about us, right? So
Yep.
with you cannot. And this, one of the things that I thought it was very important. I'm also a life coach, and money is very tied to emotions. We take care of everyone else and we forget to take care of ourselves. So
Right.
start with you. That is the number one rule. Start with you taking care of that task list. Do you have a double power of attorney? Do you have that will? And do you have that medical power of attorney? And put it in a book that someone knows where to obtain it and where to get it in case something was to happen to you. And then on the flip side, you've already prepared yourself. Now do it for those family members that you feel that you may be the caregiver for. So preparation beforehand is the key. That's the number one.
Agreed. Definitely agree on that. You need that paperwork filed, put it, like you said, in one nice spot where it's all together, and then let somebody know about that spot is also another key item there. And so without being in the workforce anymore and being a caregiver, you don't have any income, and so how do you, can you get a wage as a family member, or how do you protect yourself financially stepping out of the workforce like that?
There are times that Social Security will allow for a family member to be paid as a caregiver. So it's applying for the caregiver and their benefits. And this is where a lot of that also comes in beforehand. Either if you do find out you will be the caregiver for a family member, there are some times that family members have that rainy fund, that have that extra funds that in case something was to happen to me. And for some reason, sometimes they didn't know better and they have it in a checking account or in a savings account where money could be shifted over into some sort of long-term care plan that provides them benefits that they can either get paid directly, the caregiver can get paid for taking care of the family member, or if there was no planning done ahead of time, then you can also go back to Social Security, and they have benefits that allow for you to get paid as a caregiver to your family once they get the approvals. So there's different ways to do it. I always recommend with my clients is, and it just depends. Each client is different, and what their needs are. But in some cases, we also plan ahead of time by saving, okay, you had this money set aside for your life insurance and you have it in case if something happens. There's ways to invest it where you can multiply that amount. If it's 100,000 set aside for your beneficiaries and in case something happens, well, let's put it in an account that will give you double the benefit and can be used for long-term care and any remaining amount. Sometimes the insurance companies will allow you to withdraw up to 50% of the death benefit so that you can use for long-term care while you're living. So there's different strategies that can be set ahead of time. So it's the planning before. If you already have entered into that relationship where here it is, now I have a family member that is, needing my assistance. So it's looking at the venues also of what Social Security has available for, first of all, disability, and then second of all, take a look at what options they have available as far as income for the caregiver to receive while they're taken care of. Because at that moment, money stops.
Yeah.
You look at the need, and again, as women, we become emotional because it's a family member. It is you're the one that is going to do. And then this is where we also, because we enter into helping out our parent or relative, we're no longer in the workforce. So we're no longer putting money into the Social Security credits.
Right.
We're no longer investing anymore because we don't have that income, because now we're in survival mode to provide care for the family members. And so that's why preparation is key. It's just what happens when you're already in the moment. So just looking at other venues and other options that the parents can receive, and also taking a look at what their pensions are, because sometimes their pension is enough to cover a facility to cover them and give them that care. Then the pension is also utilized for their medical bills and their medical, pharmaceutical needs. So it just goes into different venues. And that's why it's so important to the more you can prepare, the better.
Right.
So that you're not in the reactive, okay, where do I go? There's still venues to do it once you're there. But again, I take it back to those that are not there yet, that once it happens, it's preparing before it happens.
Definitely. I mean, that's when you have the most options, which is really what we're looking for, and the most ways, to get the max for your money and long term and really protect yourself. But it doesn't always happen like that. It's not a perfect world. And so sometimes, we do have to come to the table then, once all of this is going down, which happens. But I think, and we always kind of conclude that everyone's story is so unique. And that's one of the reasons why you need a professional, is because there's, as you've explained, there's so many different options and resources, from a pension, from your long term, if you have it, or different investments, or way to pull them or allocate it. You might have the money, you just need to rearrange it, which is always interesting, but definitely, why we say, no one's cookie cutter, and you definitely need a professional. Absolutely. Is because you can see there's 1,000 things going on, and there's no reason why you should have to navigate that alone.
Right. It's a puzzle. And so it's putting that puzzle together. And I also encourage if you've got elderly parents, go to the appointments with them. This is where the power of attorney and all those things are going to come into play. But be in the conversations, because you don't realize, I have seen within a lot of my clients where I'm coming in after the second or third generation, and it's after the fact, and they're still trying to pull all the different statements from different areas where they had the money, And so it's having that life book where everything is set in one place. Statements, insurance, even passwords, but collecting at least, I recommend an annual statement so that you have somewhere to start. But if that's not the case, start walking in with your parents and be part of those conversations when they do make those business decisions, when they go to the bank, when they make life-changing decisions about their life insurance or anything else. Because then now you have more tools to have the professional assist you in putting the pieces together.
Definitely.
That way, I've seen the sad part is when, family comes in, second, third generation comes in, try to assist the grandparents, and money has gone to the state because, there was no beneficiaries and no one assisted to make sure that everything was done appropriately, so that it just passes on. And then it becomes more of a legal battle, because now you've got to go into probate. Now you got to go to the court system to prove, by the way, I am the father. That is my father. I am the son. Those are assets that belong to our family. And then the court has to give you that probate paperwork to be able to make things easier. And so again, preparation is key. If it's after the fact, then it's just a matter of having those conversations that you rely on a professional to say, this is where we're at, show us where we're at, and then we'll give them the map of how to get to where they need to their destination.
Right, exactly. And I was going to say about, the probate and things like that, sometimes people don't even want to pay to get, paperwork done, like a will or a trust. And, I don't want to pay for it. I'm going to be dead. It's somebody else's problem. But part of that is, the amount of time and money. I mean, even going to court takes forever. We all know that. But, and then just the attorneys and everything else, fees add up. The state takes a lot of money. And so honestly, I want all my money to maximize my family, my generations, my organizations that I want to sponsor a lot more than really just like going to Uncle Sam and not allocating those how I want.
Right.
And so it's just taking that proactive step about your money and your actions and thinking about that, and almost, making sure all of that is allocated properly.
Absolutely. I've got cases after cases where the beneficiary mother and father father passes away, money passes on to the mother. Mother, for some reason, they're going through their own trauma because she just lost her husband, and don't
Right.
update the beneficiaries. And then she passes away. And so money, now you've got the daughter that's trying to take care of the burial expenses for the mother, and money's tied up in court because
Yep.
the beneficiaries were not updated. So always make sure beneficiaries are updated on any accounts. And it's just having those conversations too. Then, because if no beneficiary is, sometimes it can go to the state, after 5 years, it goes dormant. But if there's family members, then it goes to probate, then it goes to court. And it is a longer process. It's more of an expensive process, that you just don't want to end up in those situations.
And so another big overarching thing is communication, just because, I mean, this is, talking about being invited to those conversations with your parents, which now could be much easier if everyone's still on Zoom. But I know there's a hard switch of roles almost of, you're my child, this is not your business, or you don't need to be taking care of me, or, people who aren't as close, but all of a sudden when it passes, things come onto their plate.
Right.
How do you have any tips, advice about, starting these conversations or navigating them with someone who's not as proactive and gung-ho about it?
Right. Yeah. And it's very uncomfortable because these are your parents. These are your patriarchs. This is the people that raised you. They're the ones that guided you through the process. And so, in understanding also, there's a lot of emotions and all that. For some parents, not bringing it up because they feel maybe I didn't prepare, and I'm kind of ashamed.
Right.
That I now have to bring all this forward and provide it to my kids. So really being very empathetic when you do have those conversations with your parents and say, you know what, and it would be, there's different ways to approach it. There's the parents that say, you know what, I do need some assistance, but just finding the proper time to bring up the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading an article, and just the preparation of making sure that we have all of our task lists in order. And while I was doing mine, hey, mom and dad, do you guys have yours ready? Is there anything I can assist you? And then you want to always engage the curiosity, because if you don't come in as accusers, you're not coming as accusing them, you're not prepared.
You never know what they are.
Exactly. You don't know where they're at. Maybe they did. They already prepared, and they have it. Oh yeah, we've got it taken care of. So and so has it ready for. My financial advisor already has it, and they're great. But it's always come from this is what I am doing, because then you disengage and you don't go into a way of, well, have you done anything? And now the child's getting onto the parent. So it's always coming in, I have this, I'm just curious. Do you guys already have something, or do you guys need any assistance? I'm here to help. When you come from a place of I am in servitude versus you're not prepared, or you're accusing them, or because you don't know how they're going to take it, they're like, well, wait a minute, what do you have to tell me that I don't know? And sometimes it's just knowledge, it's based on how we were raised too. Sometimes those are things that are taboo. Being Hispanic and coming from a Hispanic culture, we just don't talk. Some people still are in the stage of, you don't even talk about insurance, you don't even prepare for that, because then it's so weird the way the dynamics and things have changed as generations progress. But the importance of preparation and leaving a legacy to your children is just preparedness. Has nothing to do with the fact that we want to know, do you have enough money to bury you, or do I need to prepare, and do I need to purchase a life insurance policy for my mother just to make sure that they're covered? Because they tend to all pull together, and then finances, now you've got this brother and this family member that's pulling money together to just take care of the burial. So again, preparation conversations is uncomfortable, but the more lenient we are in a way that engages curiosity, it provides more of an open space for people to have those conversations. So always come in very neutral, in a very neutral setting. And, this is what I've been doing. Is there anything that I can help you with? And it turns the conversation into a different direction.
I love that piece of advice, because I can see how it turns very accusatory, and that's not what you're looking for. Tell people that you scrolled by this on, Facebook, and you thought it was interesting, just bring it up in a different kind of way. And so I think that's a great piece of advice for sure. And so then, kind of wrapping it up here, but as a caregiver, what are some ways that we could take care of ourselves then a little bit emotionally as well? We talked about the financials, but then we also have to fill our own cup as well.
Absolutely. I am a firm believer that we look at our surrounding circle. And as women, we are women of emotions. We like to talk and express how we feel. And that's what makes us so great. And so I say, lean on to strong mentors, strong women. In every phase of my life, I can go back and take a look at strong mentors that I lean onto that can pour on wisdom onto me, that I can talk to them with no judgment, no criticism, just to hear me. And you giving back the same way. So if you allow that to happen, you're allowing also for your cup to continue to be filled in, but the right people. And I even recommend, don't go to you have those friends too that are always hurting, and they're always something wrong, and those are always going to be ready to tell you that you're beginning to tell them something, and their drama is bigger than yours. So you ended up going to them for assistance, and you ended up pouring more into them that they did onto you. So, I call them energy vampires. Nothing wrong with they're great friends. Those are the ones you want on your, next to you because they'll go to battle for you for anything. But you want those that are going to pour into you. Today I just had a bad day. This and this happened. I am so sorry. Mm-hmm. What do you need? Do you want to, let's go get a pedicure. What can we do? So you want the friends that always are there to listen to you so you can get it out, and then they can pour back into you, because there's, a cup, once it's emptied, you can't give so much. And that's where, as women, if we don't take care of that, the resentment comes in. Mm-hmm. Because we're not getting that filled back in, that refill from our friends, our love, or that laughter. So I say it's, friendship is important. I'm a woman of faith, so being surrounded by faith people that pour into you, that have the same structure and the same values that you do, and also your spouse. If you have a spouse, speak to them about what's going on in your life, and sometimes just to be heard. No advice, no nothing else. Just to be heard is enough for women to feel, what, I've taken that out. Now I can pour back in and do a lot of self-affirmations. We doubt ourselves so much. Just know that you are doing the great job. No one has it figured it out. No one has that book, because I still haven't found that book yet. We just go through experiences, and experience is what makes us. And so just lean on to those friends that will provide that wisdom to fill back in.
I love that. That almost just filled my cup, because you do need those great people and those great friends to support you. And we need to share our own stories of, reality and what happened, so we can share that knowledge and support each other to have the best outcomes as well. So this has been a wealth of knowledge. So thank you for all this great information, and, really just be prepared, have these conversations. They're all really important. What's the best way for people to reach out to you if they have more questions, or want to work with you or continue the conversation?
I have a website that's probably the best, or you can go on Facebook and find my website. It's NXS Consulting. NXS Consulting is just www.nxsconsulting.com. And there I have where you can sign up for any newsletters that I have, whether it's on finances, and also for you to send me messages. So that's the best way. Also on Facebook, and I have an Instagram account, NXS Consulting, where I provide advice. And on the life coaching, I do that on the side, just because I have other nonprofits that I work with, and we go into the schools and provide some resources to the children and to our teenagers right before they graduate high school, so that they're prepared to enter in college with a little bit more tools in their belt to know how to deal with finances, so that they don't get into trouble. And now they have a degree, and they maybe shot their credit because they didn't know. So it's just preparedness is I'm all for preparing before you get there, just because experiences teaches so much, but I would rather be prepared than to learn through experience.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you again for coming on today. That wraps up our month of caregiving, but we know there's always caregivers out there every day. So best of luck to all of you. Reach out if you have questions, and we'll talk to everyone again next month. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye.